The good thing is, though, Channing, what we could talk about is how Maurkice has such an easier professional life than Mike. Like, he got, like, the Dolphins and y'all.
Oh, it wasn't nothing easy about it, RC. That's an argument at the house. Don't bring this up,
And then he got the Steelers.
Don't bring this up, because he's going to have to tell the truth.
You know what I mean?
You going to know?
Oh, no, his professional career way better than
Tomlin already.
We had a good organization.
But I done met Tomlin. Y'all had cake.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't cake, though.
It
wasn't cake.
No, emotionally cake. That man is cool as shit. We over here dealing with goofballs all day.
Oh, yeah, now the coaching-wise, that's what I'm saying. We had a good organization.
Yeah, man. Like,
But the scheme in football wasn't easy now. Don't get it twisted.
no,
But I'm
X and
saying,
O's,
though,
X and O's.
But he's saying y'all had Big Ben, too.
Ben can stand in there and just release the ball at different times. How certain hits, even when you give pressure, Ben ain't going to come back there complaining about it. He ain't going to say nothing about it, you know what I mean? He could make that certain throw to where, man, he makes every single lineman look good.
Right.
But that was a difference, bro, because it's quarterback league. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a quarterback, I don't care if you had the best defense in the
Man,
world.
protecting quarterbacks. Man, we sitting on here arguing about protecting the quarterback. Y'all know it wins.
Oh, yeah.
So you like the roughing the passer calls now?
Man, to play the game without them type of quarterbacks, man, the game's going to be boring.
It's the biggest drop-off in the world between the starting quarterbacks, the tier guys, even the top-tier guys compared to the next level starting guys. It's the biggest drop-off. You see
We
what
got
I'm
to
saying?
think of it as a fan aspect, too. You think the fans want to come and Tom Brady's not out there?
Hell
They look at the
no.
NBA when LeBron doesn't play or something. Like, man, I ain't buying no ticket to go to the game and LeBron's not out there. For a lineman like me and Mike getting knocked out, who cares? Like, bro, like, we're linemen. Like, real talk, like, no one's really going to pay that much attention to it. Like, let's be serious. Channing Carter get knocked out in the game, like, all right, it might run 1 or 2 days, but, like, man, no one's going to care. Big Ben, Tom Brady, them type of players, Phillip Rivers, they get knocked out the game, bro. It's the whole league's in like an uproar, you know what I mean? It's just crazy how it happens.
Position.
Hey,
We
man.
get arrested or a quarterback get arrested, it's totally different. Well, maybe me and Mike get arrested.
For one, first off, all y'all went to Florida.
We done been locked
Other than
up.
Freddie T,
they like
I expect
talking
all y'all to get
about them
arrested.
Gators. Yeah.
That's all he talk about is how the Florida cops was on his head when he was in college.
He started it.
Let's-
That what
I
happened.
didn't
You
start
got
it.
us in trouble. Real talk.
I didn't play with y'all.
You made the cops mad. That's what it was.
It was the same one.
Hey, man, first off, let me start the show, man.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, get me up. On the mission, get me up.
Fellas, welcome to the Pivot. Obviously, Chan, Freddie T, man, I'm RC. We're excited to have y'all, man. We're excited to have like all the guests, but for us, especially two of us that got to play with y'all, man, this is super dope. I mean, it's also cool that recently the Tigers beat the Gators, right? So even though,
Killed the show, man.
so even though,
That's crazy. That's
Tigers
crazy.
ain't got better, though. They got better.
hey, we
got
won.
it down.
You know what I mean? So
okay.
let's talk about it. But bro, man, welcome to the Pivot. Want to thank our sponsors, DraftKings. Also, Happy Dad. If you're subscribed to us already, continue to like, continue to support. Thank you. Whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, we're super grateful. Freddie T always says it. Actually, I always say it, but I stole it from Freddie T. Anybody can podcast, but not everybody can pivot. And I mean, this is one of the dopest pivots. And if you got to watch the lead up to the show, you already know we don't even need to work because these two dudes been locked up and linked up, actually since the womb. You know what I mean? We got Maurkice Pouncey, we got Mike Pouncey, all pros, Pro Bowlers, first round picks. I mean, any accolade that you could
National
gain.
champion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget that. Gators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna
High
say
school
it, say
too.
it.
Can I tell a story,
not.
Fred? I have a story.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a story. This is a true story, right? So I couldn't figure out what school I wanted to go to. It was down to Tennessee and LSU, right? My mom, big prayer. So she makes me have a prayer circle. Me, her, and my dad, my little brother, we have a prayer circle because I'm gonna make the decision the next morning, right? So we pray, man, we pray hard. I go to sleep. I have a dream. Legitimately, I have a dream. On the LSU sideline, and the fans are rushing the field, right? I'm walking out onto the field, and on the scoreboard, it's Florida, LSU won 28-21. This is a true story. I've only told it one time. I told it on SVP. I walk into my head coach's office the next day, and I said, I'm going to LSU. We called Jerry DiNardo, all that. And I was always scared to tell this story because I felt like people was gonna think I'm lying. So that year, y'all #1, right? You running up and down the field. Cedric Donaldson get the pick 6.
Wow.
Right? The game ends, it's 28-21, and I'm
crazy.
standing at the gate helping people over the fence to rush the field. Like, I
remember that
legitimately chose my school because of deja vu. I had
In
a
my
dream.
head, I'm still trying to believe the story. Like,
No, like, you don't understand. Like, I woke up and told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm going to LSU. And I told her why, and she knew, but I never wanted to, like, tell a
what
story
happened when
out
you got
loud.
there? Y'all won?
Yeah, we won.
Yeah.
Like, that was the exact score, 28-21. Freddie T was number one. They were number one in the nation, and we beat them. And that was kind of like the deja vu. But, like, listening to y'all, this is a true statement. Thank you, Fred. You was good, though. You were good.
Oh yeah, I know I was good.
I know you did your thing.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
That was the championship year?
No,
for
that
y'all?
was
That was the year after the championship, wasn't it?
that was the other championship,
They
right?
won
Freddie T?
96 and then.
No, I was talking about for y'all. LSU.
No, we didn't win.
They ain't
Oh,
win.
that's crazy.
Who won the
So
next
that
one?
was y'all championship.
If Marcy about to start lying, I'm gonna start drinking.
Yeah, that was their
yeah.
championship.
I'm gonna give me a happy dad. Y'all good? Y'all
Yeah,
want
I mean, I'll tell you one.
Okay, yeah, man.
First off,
I never
You gonna start?
Hey, first off, bro, I'm not lying. Like, why would I lie?
Yeah. There you go.
You don't have to. You don't
Careful,
actually
I just
have to
do it,
lie to go to LSU.
But
Keith, man, you know we
talking
played.
about you saw the score, premonition in a dream.
You've never had deja vu?
Man, he
I
just
don't dream.
You grew up, you Christian.
Yeah.
You grew up, same as us, man. Trust me. You grew up, you had those dreams all the time.
Yeah.
What? Somebody done beat it in your head.
And Channing, you can't have those dreams drunk and high either.
You know
Hold
what?
on,
That
nah,
might be
nah,
a problem.
that's a myth.
Yeah. You
I
ain't
was
never
with
tried
you
it
until you started
tried it,
saying
yeah.
all that.
Until you ever tried it. You ever tried it?
See, that part of the Bible they forgot out of that.
God bless me with so many things on this earth. I'm gonna take advantage of.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Not all of it.
My Lord made that.
Not all of it.
Man, they got to X some of the stuff out the show today, man.
Hey, for y'all too, bro. Start with you, Keith. For y'all too, man, to never have to look for a best friend, right? To never be in a position to be like, man, I want to go outside and shoot basketball. Or I want to go outside and throw the football. Who am I going to go with? For that to never be your reality and to always have each other. What was it like, literally growing up with someone who was exactly like you every day?
It made life easy, especially how competitive we was. You know, in life, you try to grow up trying to find out who your friends are going to be, and maybe, you know, as you grow up, all of us kind of know that, man, you probably have a handful of them. The ones you probably have, the ones you probably grew up with, and me and Mike probably got about 5 of them friends, but it did make things a lot easier just having the competition part with him. But man, I always beat Mike up. I can't even sit here and play around like Mike, my older brother, but it was just something about me I had in me, man. I was, yeah.
You know, that's just little brother syndrome. I say, hey, what I will say is the hardest part about it, it wasn't even, I always enjoyed just having him as my best friend and my brother, but I think the hardest part was always just explaining to our significant other, like, man, you don't love me as much as you love your brother. We used to deal with that our whole lives. I'm like, well, how can I? Like, there's a different love when you grow up with somebody every single day of your life. You know everything about them. Because I used to explain like this. I said, I'm gonna break it down to you. I'll make it this simple. When he goes to the store and gets me a sandwich, man, he gonna come back and get it the exact same way I want it. Man, you might leave that motherfucker with mustard on there, something I don't like. You know what I'm saying? He won't do that. I said, that's a different kind of love. That's how I gotta break it down to you. You know what I mean?
Bro, don't forget now, if they do mess it up, I'm gonna go back before I even come down.
Yeah, because he gonna feel
I know,
that way.
I already know the vibe when I get there,
there,
man. If I bring it back messed up, I'm gonna have to fight Mike.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't on that type of vibe with it.
Y'all talk about fighting. It's crazy. Y'all even know you talking about them boys. And everybody, I think all of us, I speak for y'all. Everybody, we keep a small circle like y'all talking about.
Yeah.
But you fall out with your boys. Have y'all ever fell out before? Like, what was that? If y'all, man, F you.
It's hard to fall out as a twin. I mean,
Yeah,
especially identical. But I mean, we don't have. Everyone has their arguments and our disagreements and things. Like, man, I'll go maybe a week or two without talking to Mike, but Mike know what it is. Trust me, if something happened or someone was to call and say, man, they need me here right now, they immediately like. Forget the argument part.
It's more torture.
Yeah.
Not even to be mad at him. It's the fact that, man, it's out of my routine. I talk to my brother every single day.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, the fact I'm sitting here going to my phone,
we
not
on the
calling
petty
him on
stuff trying to
purpose,
do it to each other.
It's driving me more crazy, not calling him on purpose. Like, man, I'm ignoring it. I ain't texting him today. Man, like, I wondering what he doing, but I'm like, man, I ain't checking on him. Man, you know what I'm saying?
So you really annoying me then. Now don't get on here telling the truth, bro.
But I'm saying, being for real though, that annoys me more than being mad at what we argue about, because when we get mad at each other, it's never about anything that pushes us to a point where we hate each other. Yeah. It might be, I said do this, and he might want to do it this way, and then we get in an argument about it. But it never ever got to the point where I felt like, man, it might be a falling out where, man, the love is lost. Never ever has ever got to that.
Even the fight, man. We had a fight before.
Yeah.
It was, he got a hit, I take a hit. But it ain't no like, man, I'm just sitting here pounding on my brother. I would feel crazy, you know what I mean?
Was there ever a time when you guys, coming out of Lakeland dominated for a while, and you go through the recruiting process, was there ever a time where you might have thought about going to University of Florida and you thought about going to, another college, say like maybe an LSU? Or you guys, with the whole twin mindset?
I'll give you an example. No, never thought. Just because I remember one time when we first started getting recruited, Louisville gave him a scholarship, offered him a scholarship. They didn't offer me. We X'd him out right away. It's like, man, what are you doing? Like, it's like impossible for to split us up. It don't even work like that. We trying to go together as a whole football team. It was our mind. It was like, man, if all of us can go to one school and leave what we had at Lakeland, only 7 of us could go to Florida, but we took 7 of us from that team up to Florida because we were going to stay together regardless.
But they did split you up for a moment because you had to play D-line, right?
Yeah.
As a freshman.
Yep.
And they did that to satisfy Mike.
Yeah.
Mike was talking about transfer, him, Faison,
all of us.
it was like a pack of them.
And he was
bro.
a
You know how
starting
it
guard.
is.
He had Coach Meyer, but he had him by the heat. Man, Coach Meyer do anything for Maurkice. I'm telling you right now. And Coach Meyer, he knows this too. But he'll do anything for Maurkice. So Maurkice like, oh, my brother ain't playing? Oh, we transferred, both of us transferred. Man, the next day he's like, oh no, let's try him at D-line. Man, I went out, I know all the calls. They talking about double team, split that. One-on-one, I'm dogging him, beat that. Like, they like, oh, he the greatest player since Dominican Sue. Hey, they ready to put me up for the Heisman like Sue. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that was one of the tactics back then, because players nowadays, they can leave whenever they want to leave, you know what I mean? But back then you had to kind of like threaten the coach, like, oh man, I want to transfer out of here, you know what I mean? And that was, all them boys kind of like got together as a packer. I'll never forget, there was like 5 of them, bro. It was crazy. Mike and Faison was maybe, Jared Faison was the biggest players. I don't know if y'all remember him, but he was out of Tampa. Great player, but they was all in like a pack together talking about leaving out of school. But it was crazy just go through that. But it was crazy with LSU, thinking about it, bro. Les Miles, remember it, Mike?
Yeah.
Man, the lady called us. It was his assistant. And she says, Les Miles want to talk to you on the phone. I said, well, put him on. You know, at this time, bro, we can come from Lakeland, you know. And I say, well, put him on the phone. You know, I'm thinking Les Miles gonna call me. The other head coach done called on the phone. So he get on there, he like, yeah, fellas, you know, we want to bring you guys up here, you know, get you guys in the mix of things, probably get you on the field around your, sophomore, junior year. I say, hey, Coach Miles, me and Mike ain't gonna come to LSU. You might well go to holler at somebody else, and just hung up on him, man. I don't know if he'll ever remember that story, but 1,000% that was true, man. It hurt my dad's heart because
He from Louisiana.
Yeah.
He was like, man.
I say, Dad, man, you better hit Les Miles up on a text, because he just hit us with some disrespectful stuff. You know how we are, man. Like, they didn't X off the list, but, man, LSU.
It's so crazy. You talk about phone calls with head coaches, and then you brought up Urban Meyer. Yeah. So I was in Florida when Zook got fired, 4 games left in the season. Charlie Strong took over, and I was getting locked up. Y'all got locked up too.
Hey, don't throw us in there with you. Tell your story.
So I'm there. I'm playing my sophomore season through sophomore, and I got locked up 3-4 times before that. So Urban, when he got the job, they knew he was getting the job before the season was even over. They already hired him. So I'm sitting on a Thursday night, leading up. We about to party, we about to go out to the swamp, whatever. We about to go out downtown to the Palace, and my phone keep ringing with his area code. And then I finally picked up, and I'm pissed. I don't know the area code, but I'm like, man, who is this? And it was one of the Utah coaches, and he was like, hey, is this Channing Crowder? I said, yeah, man, what's up? Who is this? I'm kind of hot. He said, yeah, Coach Meyer wants to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, cool, put him on the phone. Yeah. First time we ever talked, dude gonna tell me, yeah, they say you're a team leader, but you're getting a lot of trouble, and we're not gonna deal with that when I get down there next year. I said, first off, sir, that's not the way you approach me in the first conversation we ever have together. Sure. So whatever you want to do, you can do that, but I'm good. And then you hear the phone say, he threw the phone back at somebody because he was like, how the hell is this little college dude talking to me like that? And I was like, yeah, but I want to ask y'all, we're Urban, because everybody, Jarvis, Herring, the twins and all them boys, they tell me like they love Urban.
We love them. Because if you
play, I think Maurkice loved him more than you, because
Mike loved him too.
Yeah,
trust me, bro.
Trust me, because if you play
I think that people who didn't know him, bro, he changed kids into men, and that's one thing I always took from the aspect, especially like being raised from how our dad raised us. You know what I mean? Like it was always the man aspect of it. Like you got to earn what you're speaking of. You know what I mean? You got to earn your food. You know what I mean? And that's how Coach Meyer was. If you played on that field, he treated you like a king, and if you were just a practice squad player, like that's what you was. Like man, you had to either get in trouble or do something to stand out for Coach Meyer to acknowledge that. And that's how I always appreciated that. And I think even going throughout the NFL, Coach Tomlin was the same way. Even though people say Coach Tomlin was a player coach in a forum, man, Coach Tomlin would be on there, man, you sitting there on film on Monday, I'm telling you, bro, you better not be the player that messed up. Because it's almost like he ain't going to do it, and some players, like some head coaches, taking it like a private thing. He going to call you out in front of everybody. the one thing Coach Tomlin's not going to do is call you out in the media. He respects you in that form, but everyone in the organization is going to know who messed up on that game. You know what I mean? So that's what I always took from Coach Meyer as well. And you appreciate it in that form and that fact of how he raised men in that. And I don't think as kids we appreciated it enough until we got into the next level of life. But Coach Meyer, hell of a dude, bro.
Yeah,
You might read him wrong in certain things that he handled in certain situations, but he's a hell of a dude.
So for y'all to know him like that, why did he fail in the NFL? That Jaguar shit was terrible.
In the NFL, I think what it was with Coach Meyer was that, man, college is a structured kind of form that where the coaching staff runs the whole team. You know what I mean? Like they have all to say. He didn't understand the fact that in the NFL, yes, the coaches are respected as the head coach, they're respected as position coaches, but the players run the whole show. And that's what I think that he had a misconception. It was like, man, you gotta let the guys run the show. Like, no, I'm in charge. But no, yes, you're in charge. And if you let them run the show and earn their respect, they'll let you be that.
They'll respect you that way.
They'll hold you that. They'll hold you as a head coach.
Yeah.
But when you sit there and you come in and try and like tell a bunch of grown men, man, this guy got 4 kids at home, probably arguing with his wife. He got a lot of shit going on in his life, and he got to deal with you. Like, come on, nah, like, that ain't what it is in the NFL. The NFL, the players run that whole thing, and so like that's why you want to get a bunch of good guys around each other. Keep some dogs in there too, because you need that on your football team. But you want to have guys that's going to have structure inside your locker room, because the head coach, what do they really do besides walk around and set the schedule? They're not coaching, or they're not around the guys on an everyday basis like that. Besides,
they game planning.
They game planning, but they're not around the guys like in position meetings, like on an everyday basis where you understand what's going on in the guy's life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
develop that type of
relationship where you can sit there and go and bullshit with a guy like that. Like, it's different when your position coach comes up to you and he's hard on you and he's giving you shit. But like, man, the head coach, you hold them to that respect. They earn that respect by the way they run the structure of stuff, but they're not around knowing their everyday life about what's going on and stuff like that. And I think that's what kind of Urban Meyer's mix was.
I think that's the big thing when you get to the league is that people don't realize, like, I'll see Keith in the morning. I'm not gonna see him again until we get the break right before we go to practice, or until we go to cafeteria. Like you in that room with the guys that's on the offensive line. I'm with the DBs. You with those coaches, and then that's kind of how you develop close relationships with people. Like me and Troy, like best friends, because I was with him all day. Like that's the way it works. But for y'all, when you look at college, man, where you do everything together, we live in the same dorms or we live in the same apartments. Like y'all team was famous, right? Like the Florida Gators, when y'all were there, were big time. So many dudes drafted and going to the league. Like I knew you guys too, because knowing you very well, y'all were really close with Aaron Hernandez. Yeah. You know, and Maurkice would tell me stories. He's like, yeah, man, like sometimes, man, y'all, you know, Mike and Aaron had to go outside, squabble, they come back in, lift weights. Yeah. What was that relationship like with y'all to kind of get another brother in having him?
Man, I'm happy you asked about the RC, real talk, because a lot of people, bro, they're more scared or ashamed to even talk about it. And I'm just telling y'all right now, like, if people were here and really knew Aaron, y'all would have loved him. Damn the situation that happened or the scenarios that happen, or they offer scenarios that happen, hell yeah, they are. And we feel for the people and the situations that were involved. But growing up with Aaron, because we all did as kids, we were teenagers and we grew up as men together, especially having all our kids together. Hell, our daughters are damn near the same ages. We still even, get gifts and all that, still talk to Cheyenne and all that stuff all the time, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like to having a negative light to say anything bad about him, it'd just be the weird to say and disrespectful to say for everybody involved in that situation. But I don't want to say nothing crazy because sometimes we got so demoralized for, trying to defend Aaron because no one knew at the time. And especially after things got played out how it played out, because Mike, we got to say it, Mike, because how the things played out, we never felt, I think whenever like the whole hat thing happened, you know what I mean? I think people took it in the form that we didn't care about the other side. But at the time, the hat was a 5-second thing that we didn't even have time to prepare ourselves to even put ourselves in the situation to prepare for that scenario, you know what I mean? Hell yeah, we feel bad for the family if that was the case that happened and someone did die from Aaron doing it, man, absolutely, like Aaron should pay for the cost that happened for it, and we feel bad for the family because death shouldn't happen within no one. Another person should take a life in no form. So for all the people who never heard us say that, I just wanted to kind of like clear that part up because hell, we still walk in the stadium as everybody free Hernandez or hit us up on social media like F you for doing this and that. But I think you really had to know Chico, his family, his kids. And, I get touched up sometimes about talking about that shit because, hell, we still talk to him. So, just know that people do make mistakes in that form, but they got others that live with them, you know what I mean? So shit be crazy just looking at his kids sometimes. You know?
Yeah, I understand that. Just jumping in, I can speak to it, Mike, because I personally knew
Had a
Aaron.
relationship
I
with
personally
him.
knew Chico.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I met him years ago with Deontay Thompson, who you guys play with down at UF. And, you know, Chico was always just happy, go lucky, smile on his face. Everybody loved him.
Always had
You know,
jokes.
and obviously, like you guys are saying, that you express, you know, some sort of remorse, you know, and you have certain sentiments towards what the other families are experiencing because of, you know, what that outcome was. And it doesn't make you guys a bad guy because you supporting your brother.
No,
you know,
100%.
nobody want their family member or whomever to be, you know, locked up or, you know, charged with, you know, a certain thing. It played out the way it played out, and that's due to, you know, what the higher power wanted. But you guys got to continue to live your lives and also, you know, let people understood how Chico really was as a person, because he was an amazing human being, man.
And a football player, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
amazing player
Fred,
too.
that was my point when I was getting at it. I hate that we had to justify our relationship, because I always looked at it as, if my brother was in that situation, how would they want me to react? How would they want me to feel? Would they want me to just leave him in the dark by himself or support him?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't support the action. I supported the person. You know what I'm saying? And that was the part that everyone missed, because it was such a bad thing that had happened. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get caught up in the middle of it, you're supporting the person and not supporting the action, and people, you can't even justify it at the time because it's such a hot topic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's kind of where all of us are getting at. We knew Chico the person. We didn't know Chico the action. And the Chico the action, none of us agreed should happen, right? If it were true, or if it really did happen, none of us agreed that anyone should die. But with the person, we supported the person because of who we thought he was, who we knew he was in our eyes. You know?
Robert Kraft went and supported him at court, you know what I mean? So to sit here and say that Chico is a bad person, like, man, he had ownership of the NFL in court for him. So that it was just crazy that, like, for even for us, so that for someone who didn't even know him as a kid, for us, like, man, we knew everybody in his family. Like, we all slept together. We went up to Connecticut. Like, it was crazy, you know what I mean? So to have the owner of the NFL in there to support him, it already shows what type of person that he was. Like, the action was a one-day thing, maybe. We don't know what it was, you know what I mean? Like, it was just crazy that the whole entire world judged him off that one little thing. And I get it in a form, which I truly do, because the tragic accident, you know what I mean? It was crazy that was even brought apart. And that, for the NFL, like, let's be real, that doesn't happen in the NFL. Like, for one of our star players who changed the NFL to a 2 tight end set, for that to happen, it was just like, hold on, let's reassess all the guys that we're bringing into the NFL. It gave the critics and all the outside haters more, you know, fumes to the fire. You know?
Recently, we had Tamron Hall on, and she had a business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I was in the same situation, but it was terrible things he did and ended up dying in jail. Yeah. Same situation. And I asked her, was there any, to be as close to Jeffrey as she was, did you see anything? For y'all to be as close to Chico as you were, I ain't know Aaron like that. Like, I met him one time, we weren't tight. Like, the story's crazy.
So this is what we will say.
The entire story's crazy. Y'all, it was not like, that was a surprise to y'all. When y'all heard that story, it was a total surprise. There was nothing that led up that y'all could see that he could do the things he did.
But so what we'll say about that thing is, what we did learn after the fact was, man, Chico's skull was paper thin, and the doctors were, he had stage 4 CTE, so they actually knew this. They actually tested his brain, and the doctors were amazed that every time Chico took a hit, that he didn't fracture his skull. So I honestly think that played a major factor in what he had going on in there. You know what I mean? So, and if y'all really knew Aaron, like, he was a really smart dude. Aaron knew, and kind of like, I think that he kind of maybe predicted in himself that, man, if I got out, how life would be. Like, let's be serious. Like, I mean, what's life for, you know, Simpson now? Like, is it really that good of a life? You know what I mean? Like,
And you saying he knew while he was in jail, like, if he ever
I mean,
got-
let's all, like, let's just sit there and think. Just put yourself in that situation. Like, what would you truly think in your head? Like, how would you really take on that situation, knowing that if I come out of this, I'm gonna lose so much money-wise, everything's gonna be sued, everything. I mean, the perception when I walk around, like, how would you truly feel about that? You know what I mean? So I honestly, if we're gonna sit here and even ask that question, even think about it, I mean, I think that's kind of what people want to know. instead of just biting around the situation. Like, I think that's what Chico was thinking, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, like, hell, it ain't nothing that we can really truly say, like, someone forced him to do it. Because in my mind, whenever the call first happened, someone murdered him. You know what I mean? The guards did it. They hate that he, you know what I mean, he just beat the verdict. You know what I mean? We were so tied into it. Like, we was there. We had the lawyers for him. Like, we knew every single scenario. I mean, there's probably hundreds of jail calls, you know what I mean? I was sitting on there just laughing and bullshitting. Most of the calls, they're probably sitting on there mad because the stuff was on there saying, you know what I mean? But it was just crazy how all that stuff played out. It was just weird, man, especially that call that's saying that happened. And hearing his,
I couldn't believe that shit.
Hell yeah, it was crazy. But,
Maurkice, I'm gonna jump in. I have a question for Mike, but I want to say my last impression on Chico, on Aaron. I talked to him the night before he passed away, and in that conversation, he was the Chico I remember talking to when he was a young player at the University of Florida, traveling to Jacksonville.
It's crazy.
Happy, fun, you know, just full of life, full of energy. So it was hard for me to believe that, you know, when they say he allegedly committed suicide, it was hard for me to believe that. But I just want to.
What's the first thing you thought, though?
Dang, he didn't do it.
Someone killed him, right?
Initially, yeah.
But what I do respect about Aaron at that point, because I'm just not hearing that, knowing that he called you that. I talked to him the same night. So he called all his loved ones, everyone that mattered to him, talked to him that last time, and we got that same impression. So when we heard the news the next day, I'm like, bro, there's no way. How? I got off the phone, we're laughing, everything was cool, there's no way, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was no indication leading up to that. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why you don't know people when they're behind closed doors.
So, you know, you hear things, and perception is, you know, a mofo. You talked about supporting the action or supporting the person, you know, your political preferences. You know, Donald Trump, you know, it's been seen you guys are heavy Republicans, supported and backed Donald Trump. You guys have gotten some pushback, you know, comments, media, you know, etc. You know, do you guys even care about the comments and what people say or think?
Zero.
Man, we never cared our whole entire life what other people thought. Because if we did, hell, people always told us we wouldn't make it. People always told us we would be failures. Like, man, at some point, like, you got to start just thinking in life, bro, that your family, your closest friends that you have, that it's all like a myth that there's going to be like a lot of people out there like willing to like help you in life. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some people out there like coaches and, you know, some, you know, people that were involved that like took us around and helped us and, you know, brought us up in life. You know what I mean? I'm not taking nothing away from that. But like, man, like to truly sit here and think like the government's going to help us out or like whatever president you think is going to be in there is going to help us out. Like, bro, I look at the president thing as that, man, I'm best for what's best for our family, what's best for our culture. Like, we can't sit here and deny that President Trump wasn't good for black people. You can't tell me, give me some policies and things that Mr. Biden done did for black people. Like, and I'm in the community, bro. So like, if people want to sit here and debate with us, bro, we don't have a 501(c) for the last 13 years. We done gave over millions of dollars to our community. So like, you can't debate us on who we like as a president. You know what I mean? Like, because we know what the hell, like every time a Democrat president get in there, the only thing they do is change the part. They color the slide. Like, man, we tired of that shit.
Right.
Like, Donald Trump was literally in there helping HBCUs. All that money was guaranteed per year. Like, all the different things that he did for us, like, I just don't understand, like, our community-wise, how unemployment for black people, like, it was just crazy to think that, man, we ain't gonna at least tap him on the shoulder for that. I ain't saying that I'm gonna get up there and said all the best things. Hell, I hated some of the shit he said out there because I knew what it did to people. How small-minded people sometimes are just, that's one thing they're gonna latch onto and, oh, I hate him forever for that, you know what I mean? So once he was like, man, maybe that's one thing he could have did better was go out there and gave better speeches, you know what I mean? But like,
mine is the divisive rhetoric.
Yeah, like
I think he did some really good things. Mine is the divisive rhetoric during the moment in which the country was experiencing certain things on the heels of the police brutalities and all those different things. Minus that stuff, I think he did okay as a president.
Yeah, he did great as a president. Listen, all that stuff's media spun too, though. A lot of the stuff, some of the stuff he'll say, and then it'll be split up. You know, like they'll play a little snippet of, you know, not even the whole interview, and then somebody that's against, you know, say a Republican Party will hear that little snippet, or somebody that's a Republican will hear a Democrat. It's vice versa. they'll hear that and be like, oh, you know what? Oh, that happened. And not even look into it. They just hear basically that little bitty part of it. And if you're on the opposite side and you oppose it, you're like, man, that ain't, okay, you agree with it. But if you don't really look into what's being said and really look at the whole big picture of things, and sometimes then your mind will get polluted just being on the side that you're always normal ride.
I got one question though, Mike, because I want to ask about this thing. So how do y'all, whenever we're playing football and there is a Caucasian player, how do you feel as a black player? How do you feel? Do you feel like there's no way that Caucasian player should beat you, right?
It depends on what position he plays.
All right, so
Yeah,
no matter what position, RC, let's be serious. I know you. I don't give a damn.
Well, so the big thing is this, right? The big and
we're talking. Take quarterback out of it then.
Exactly, but I'm saying like if I'm playing against a wide receiver, he got to come see me, right? I'm not gonna look at Wes Welker, Julian Edelman the same way I look at Randy Moss. No, I'm not gonna look at a lot of people.
So that's my point. So how do you think whenever police officers go into communities? Because me and Mike grew up in the trailer park and we grew up in the hood. I'm telling you, when we got in fights in the trailer park, they weren't as vicious as the ones in the hood. So, bro, to sit here and tell us that bro, we sit here and watch cops go into the neighborhoods that we all grew up in, and we know how that shit is. We're not watching cops go into neighborhoods that are in the best neighborhoods in the world and arresting people. Like, that's easy to do. Like, when you put that person on, hey, man, put your hands behind your back. Man, the moment a cop walks in our neighborhood, bro, where we're from, man, who the fuck are you?
But Maurkice,
I don't care, bro. Like, you gotta have tough police officers. Like,
this is the thing, though.
It's training. Trust me, I get what you're saying.
I can't let you do that to an entire group of people. That's not true.
RC, listen,
that's not true.
I'm not saying that
we have watched.
We're talking about the scenarios because that's what people do. We're talking about the scenario. I'm not talking about
when they can and when they want to.
I'm not talking about the middle class black. RC, listen, I'm not talking about the middle class black neighborhoods, bro. Where a lot of black people are and they're hard working. I'm talking about the real tough neighborhoods where they show these clips.
Yes.
Bro.
And
everyone in there, bro, is on the same vibe.
I'm talking about white people that love guns that actually shoot at cops that get
trailer
brought
park
in.
too. Okay, the same exact thing. I'm not saying that white people don't do it, bro. We grew up in the trailer park. That's not the same exact thing, bro.
That's not the discussion when we're speaking about Trump, right? Or when we're speaking about who President Trump was. President Trump and his policies were never the issue. Right, like for me, I don't care about parties, whether Republican, Democrat. That's not what I care about, right? You care about who's going to do the best good for the country and be everybody's president, right? The reason that black people had a huge issue with President Obama is because black people felt like President Obama should have been the black people's president. But President Obama knew that in order for anybody like him to ever look like him, to get that position again,
1,000%.
he couldn't live that way.
Yeah, he couldn't.
And based on rhetoric, right? Based on divisiveness, based on what we saw, not the policies like two people like you or like me who can understand, especially the way I live, the money I've made, it's better for me to vote Republican. It ain't better for my cousins. It ain't better for my uncles,
yeah, it is,
my nephews.
Yeah, but it is though, because you gotta look at unemployment for black people. You gotta look at because your cousins, that it matters for them. Your cousins aren't signed up for the jobs that we signed up for.
100%.
So the fact that the unemployment was that hot, it is good for your cousins. It's good for our cousins. It was good for our family. It was good for a lot of people.
Party-wise, right? Trump was
because that's how we get that illusion that Democrats help our people.
The thing is this,
so
though.
a Democrat president.
I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue because this show's not arguing. So what I'm saying is this. So just return to talk. What I'm saying is this. The problem with Trump and the community and why people would have an issue with you supporting them is because most people in our positions or from our communities aren't necessarily paying attention to policy. Right? They're paying attention to what they could see, what they could touch, what they could feel. Right? They pay attention more to Charlottesville, right, and tiki torches than they pay to the unemployment rate. Right? They pay more attention to what the rhetoric is around police brutality as it pertains to George Floyd, as it pertains to Breonna Taylor, right? Then they pay attention to the money that's being put into the communities, HBCUs. And so when you do support, right, nothing's wrong with you support. When you do support, because we've had Dana White on, we've had Mike Tyson on, all of these people are Trump's friends, right? And Dana White, and I've been thinking about this from the beginning, when you guys are talking about supporting Aaron Hernandez, here's what I see. You're supporting a man that has done a ton for you in your personal lives, done a ton for you, for your kids, for your families, the bond you've grown. You're not supporting an action. Right? Same thing Dana White said. Trump gave me my first opportunity to run a show. He's always going to be my friend, but I don't agree with everything he says. Yeah. I think it's sometimes clarification that people need. When you come on here and say, no, it's about the policies. I do hate some of the things that he said, and I understand the divisiveness of it. But when you move away from that, you're talking about the things that you guys have done for your community. People, like, I'm not sure a lot of people know that you guys are biracial. No. Right? And it really comes to fruition and to the forefront when you say, yeah, like I grew up in a trailer park and I grew up in the hood. If you're looking at the stereotypes of what people like to say, the lower classes of each ethnicity or of each race, it's like whatever you want to insult a white person is, yeah, trailer park, or whenever you want to insult a black. What did that ever play a role in you guys growing up, and whether it's like having to pick a side or being picked on or whatever? You know what I mean? Because like people are just,
you know what side we got to pick. Well, just in the neighborhood side, on the hood side, you know, it was always we was the white boys. You know what I mean? Just cause our mom, even though our mom was more on the wild side a little bit too. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. It's a culture thing. It ain't no disrespectful thing. You know what I mean? Just like I tell people all the time, like, man, you think there wasn't people there was white people that grew up in the hood? Like there was. My mom was in there. You know what I mean? Like it's almost crazy to think there wasn't other people in there. You know.
I say when you poor, like that shit don't even matter. Color don't even matter when you're poor. Like everyone's the same. You're just living on different parts of town. Mm-hmm. Like, but when you see each other, it's the same. Like you're shopping at the same places and just living in different areas. So like, it's a culture thing. That's why, like, man, we call it the hood like it's a bad thing. Like, bro, when you're living, no one thinks it's a bad thing. Like, what the hell is so bad about it? Like, we just can't afford a bigger house. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe some of the fights or the argument thing, like we blow it up into like this bigger thing. Like, but bro, if all of us was in Trump Hotel, like, you think it would look that bad? It would just be some arguments in the Trump Hotel. It looked like a reality TV show, you know what I mean? Like, I think that with the perception of the world, we just make it look a lot worse than what it is, you know what I mean?
Do y'all think y'all would have the same thought on things if y'all weren't rich?
Nah, it'd be way different.
Because it's just listening for a second. Did the money create where y'all are?
We tell our family that all the time too. Like sometimes we got to bring our family down to reality. I say, man, like, y'all don't understand, like, life's good. Like, I know you still got to work, you know what I mean? But you don't have any, like, there's a comfortability with your sons being really rich. Like, do you really got to worry about your lights ever going off? No, but I said when we grew up, you used to have to worry about that though, right? It was like this thing, I used to go to the pump, and every little dollar I put in, you got to watch. Oh, how much, I can only put in 26, 34. If I go over that, I'm over budget. I tell them, Mom, have you ever worried about that? Or you lock your shit in and go in there and get whatever the fuck you want out the store? That's the difference. I say, yeah, we sometimes we forget that because we're so far removed from it.
But Channing, it's a good thing to change though. Don't think it's a bad thing to change.
We didn't work this hard to stay the same.
And that's why when you get to a point, you got to stay humble, and people look at you, they're like, okay, well, man, they never changed. Yeah, because man, we already been there before. Like, why we be there and then get to where we are now in life, and then look at the people that are there that where we were and then look at them different. It'd be stupid of us because, man, those are all of our friends. We don't have any friends that are multimillionaires besides the guys we played with. Yeah. All our friends are normal people. They go to jobs every day, Monday through Friday. So that now, this is like the biggest shock in the world. They're like, bro, what's the biggest shock? Do you miss being in football? I say, no, I don't miss playing football. I maximize football. What I miss is having my friends, guys that I'm used to being on the same schedule as me. Not that I don't like hanging out with my friends now. It's just that, man, on a Tuesday, I want to go golf and I'm at the house, or I call my brother, hey, bro, hey, it's just me and him. If I didn't have him, I can only imagine how crazy I'd be going, like sitting there at the house, like, man, what we gonna do today? And I gotta wait for the kids to get out of school to go have fun. Like, that's the biggest difference of, like, the transitioning part.
And so, I think sometimes, too, though, that with the change thing, too, though, before Mike goes off on something else, is that some people they look at the change thing as a bad thing, but, man, we got kids out there can verify, can vouch. Man, we done changed their life in different ways, in different forms and fashion, giving back to them, helping their families out, helping them throughout school. Like, man, me and Mike are still involved in the high school kids that we got now at Lakeland and Lake Gibson High School. Like, we make sure that we send a family member or someone that's really close who's been through the process with us, with the kids, so that, because we know how it is, man. Kids can get screwed over. We're not gonna have one of our friends or someone that grew up in our pack saying that, man, the Pouncey set us up for failure. Like, nah, bro, like, we're gonna make sure you go to a school that the head coach is gonna be there, not just bring you there so they can look good and get a big time job somewhere else. Like, all that stuff in our mind is structurally set up for the people around us in our county, you know what I mean? And I think that's another thing that we draw back, and I think that players in the NFL gotta start doing a better job of. Like, man, we gotta set these kids up in the right form. I think Deion going to the HBCUs showing that you can win there and you can have great players play at them type of schools is a good lead for all of us. Like, Man, hell, RC, I always thought, man, I tell RC all the time, I don't know how RC ain't a governor or running some type of organization. It's crazy to me to sit here and think, I mean, yeah, he running the podcast, but my RC should be the governor of Louisiana. Man,
Never
real
sleep.
talk. He got my show.
You the new Stephen A.
I appreciate
Oh,
it.
yeah.
My mind, like, you cut it on
That's for
ESPN.
I appreciate it, man. I remember, Keith, man, when we drafted you, one, we was fired up as hell, right? We knew we had a future Hall of Famer.
Nah,
But I remember
still a Hall of Famer for sure.
Hey, I remember though the kiss, right?
Yeah.
On draft
You know
day,
what I'm saying, on draft day. And I don't want to get into that, but
But RC,
You-
we was
you
in the
were-
same room now, man. I got 3 daughters. Mike got 2 kids. Now, someone thinks some crazy stuff.
No, I'm not talking
and
about
whatever that is, no, because it'd be funny though, because whatever you are in life, let you be what it is. But me and Mike Pouncey,
Heterosexual.
We're heterosexual, you know.
yeah,
what I mean?
I'm not even worried about that. But my thing is this.
But it was funny though. That was the first joke
funny.
on the
It's
team.
funny.
Oh my
It's
God,
funny.
I had to say it because hey, you gotta break the ice. Hey, Channing, you know you gotta break the ice though. I broke it
No,
immediately. I say, yeah, man, I
Hey,
kissed
Channing,
my
for
brother
real.
on draft day.
He did
bro,
it.
like, and the
He
whole
said it.
team
I
hit the
think
ground. I say, man, all right, man, we passed it, bro.
Hey, but I want to
called
say,
Mike. I say we good, dog.
you were genuinely overjoyed, like your name got called when your brother got drafted. Both of you first round picks. Were you happier when he got drafted than you, and vice versa?
Oh, 100%. And I was more scared too, because in my mind I was like, man, if Mike doesn't go first round, man, I'm a failure. I did something that the coaches looked at like, man, we don't want the other brother in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I kind of like played that in my head too. And then we actually went to New York. So bro, man, the lights were on. Man, they talking about this dude going 9th pick. I'm like, oh man, like I'm sitting back, I'm sweating more than him. Man, I'm over there texting my agent like, man, this better happen. Do not embarrass us out here in New York. Like, man, we could have stayed at the crib and hung out with all our dogs and had us some barbecue, you know what I mean? Like, not out here with the lights on, not the twins here, but it ended up working out. But yeah, I was more that proud that happened. And Mike actually, because, man, I begged Mike to come out. And he stayed. It was his decision. Like, man, I was like, man, no, Mike, please enter the draft. And he went back and they didn't have the year that we thought they was gonna have. You know, they went to the Outback Bowl. You know, Mike had some of the snap issues, and I'm like, man, this shit kill his career. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was starting to play in my head. Like, man, I hate everybody at the school.
How hard was that for you though when you had the snap? Because I remember that the snap issues and you thinking and going through like this. He might not go first round.
Man, it was hard going to school. I mean, going to practice, dealing with y'all. I like, man, damn, Mike, you know, messed it up in here. Now I got to argue with RC, dog. But it was more just trying to encourage him, bro, because I know how tough we are on ourselves as players. And I know, man, Mike's in there the moment right after practice, we're in there watching film. Like, we got to see our steps. We got to see how the ball was in there because, bro, if you're going to be a great player, bro, it takes more than just going to practice. Like, and it ain't something that someone can coach into being. Like, it just has to be in you. Like, it has to drive you crazy every single day. And that's what I think me and Mike grew up as that's what helped us at our craft because we weren't the fastest players. We weren't the strongest.
Right.
But our mentality, man, you couldn't tell us we were 7 foot and we benched 1,000 pounds. And I mean, RC can verify that. Like, hell, it's just a mentality of a player. If you don't have that it factor, I don't care how much a coach pushes it in your head and instills it in your head, it ain't happening.
Now y'all retired, so now you can put the ego out the door. Who's better? You had more career success team-wise.
We can't judge it because we didn't have the same players.
There is a higher rated twin in the world.
I'm saying if we're gonna go off the weight room, I was stronger.
No. Get out on that field. Who gonna win more one-on-one matches? Who is a better player? You know what I'm saying, Keith. Come on now.
I'm telling you, it's just so hard to say, bro, because we both.
he said him.
I'm just gonna give you the real answer, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how he always is. But I'm just saying, I'm being for real. It's so hard to judge it. I mean, if I honestly like, let's just switch shoes. Let me go to Pittsburgh and him go to Dolphins. What's the difference? And that's how I always
The
looked
only
at
difference is that I'd have probably had Rihanna at the time, you know, on that type of level
you
type
can't be
thing.
serious with him sometimes.
I'm being serious, Mike.
You
Like,
took advantage of Miami.
man, when I walked, that's why I retired because in my head when I walked out there, bro, I was a gladiator, bro. And I just took too many, you know, sword cuts. You know, by them vicious blades, you know what I mean? Y'all know it. I'm just.
Yeah.
I wanted them to switch in the Super Bowl though.
See, that's
When
what
you got hurt.
That's what I was about to get to.
Hey, taking this time to holler at y'all about DraftKings. Still remember, if you're a new customer, use the promo code PIVOT, a $5 pregame bet any football wager, you get $200 in free bets. And I'm super fired up because they got the Battle of New York, an AFC giant, an NFC giant, and my boy Freddie T is back from across the pond.
Listen, if you're not in a state where the sports book's at, you can use DraftKings Daily Fantasy. And you don't have to even pick a team. Pick your favorite players. You might be a fan of such and such. It doesn't matter. Pick your favorite players, Daily Fantasy.
If you want to hit him in the head, it's the same game parlays. I'm telling you, I am so interested in this LA-Tampa Bay matchup. I know they're going to do their thing in conference. I like that when it means something, and I'm in the same game parlay, and that's how you get yourself the chance of winning even more bread with DraftKings.
Well, listen, I'm already tapped in. I had to get a new phone because I left mine in the Uber. I'm downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. I'm tapping in. I'm going to use the promo code PIVOT. I'm a new customer, or maybe I can be. $5 on any pregame wager. Bet on football, $200 in free bets. We're about to tap back into what we're doing, but make sure you tap into DraftKings. So we go into the Super Bowl. He's obviously one of the best centers in the league as a rookie, you know what I mean? And I'm telling him, bruh, it's hard to get to the Super Bowl, y'all. I was like, it's hard.
Man.
And he was so good, and the team was so good. Like, you couldn't tell us we wasn't going back the next year anyway. We was 12-4 the next year. But I remember, I was like, man, I wonder if his brother could play. Because he would walk, like, young, he'd walk into the stadium, he'd be like, oh, Keith, oh, no, Mike, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. You know what I mean?
You know what's so crazy when I think about that, RC? Man, I will say this about RC. RC was one of the best teammates I ever had. One of the best leaders on a football team. And he's one of the type of people, man, you want on your team. And it was crazy thinking about it because we underestimated. As a younger player, I came in as the first round. I remember Worlds. We had AB. We had Emmanuel Sanders. They were the Young Money crew. Mm-hmm. And it was so crazy just to think about, man, how much we underestimated because we were so good. How good the defense was, Casey Hampton, Troy. And in our mind, man, this is the NFL. Like, no matter if they brought in other players off other teams, they're going to be just as good. But at the time, when you're such a young player, you don't realize it. But we had gems. Man, to have RC out there knocking players out, James Harrison knocking players out, like, man, we were so blessed to see Troy jumping over piles because once them players left, it was kind of a reality check, like, dang, like, then that's when I think, it was kind of like the drama thing on the team where the offense got really, really good. You know what I mean? And then some of the defensive players that we still had that was great over there, it just kind of like swung because, man, our defense was number one. Yeah. Man, they walked into the stadiums and hell, man, they won games for it. They were scoring touchdowns and shit. We didn't have to do nothing but shit. Just go to check in at meetings, you know what I mean? Like, that's how easy they made it, real talk. But it's crazy, like, just truly think about, I think players in the NFL, and especially if you get such success as a young player, and I think it happened with me, even like RC was saying, like, man, to make 3 straight Pro Bowls, in my mind, hell, my agent telling me, man, you outplayed your contract. In my mind, I'm poor as hell. Like, I never had money. Like, man, I'm used to fried bologna sandwiches and sugar water and shit. Like, he telling me I need more money. I'm like, shit, I got money. Like, what the hell? For real. But, so I go out there, and I think you play like this arrogance thing in your head instead of just kind of like, man, it's all, things are already written out in my mind, bro, since I'm such a believer in God. And I don't know how other people are, but once you start truly, truly believing in certain things in life and faith, like, things are already written. That's why I tell people all the time, like I tell my family, like, man, that's already written. Like, y'all pay too much attention to, like, the BS stuff. Like, man, if it's going to happen, let it happen. You know what I mean? And I think we kind of, like, played that as a young player. Like, whenever that kind of, like, happened out, and it happened so easy to us, I'm like, damn, like, man, we'll make the Super Bowl every year, man. RC talking about, like, man, I want to go out tonight. Like, man, I want to go to Del Frisco's, get me big crowd legs and everything with Moan, you know what I mean? Me and Moan, you know what I mean? Yeah. I done got his mind all distracted. I'm on crutches and everything. I ain't playing. I'm at the Wayne concert with Mike. Mike got me so messed up. I'm in there distracting my teammates and stuff. But I don't know if I did or not, but I'm playing that throughout my head, throughout the careers. Like, man, I should have just been, locked in because I thought it was so easy just to make it. But even like the arrogance thing with like making some of that, like the Pro Bowls and like the All-Pro things, man, it's just, to sit back and think about it after retirement, like, all that stuff is a blessing, bro. Like, you just got to take it in and, like, think about all that stuff afterwards. Like, you pay too much attention to it while we playing sometimes, and I think it downs the players, bro, because in your mind, you start thinking, like, oh, man, they done made me like this superstar player. Like, bro, you're in the NFL. You already a superstar.
But also, I don't think, man, to that point, because I've had this conversation before. People are like, yeah, I should have been a straight edge. I should have been a straight arrow. I would have been better.
I ain't saying
you
be a straight arrow.
You wouldn't have had the edge that you had if you weren't the person that you are. Like, me getting locked up was because I was a very aggressive person.
I'm saying that part. I'm saying, bro, the arrogance part. I'm not saying, bro, I stopped going to the bar. or start going to the club. Like, I'm not saying that part, bro, but it was an arrogance part that we play in our head sometimes. Like,
I just had
man,
a really
I'm not
good
gonna
team.
take coaching
We ain't
no
had that
more.
luxury, bro.
Man, Mike, you know what I'm talking about, bro.
I know, but y'all had a luxury of thinking like that, being that way. Like, we didn't have we never been on a team that was like, man, or in an organization where it was ran where it was like a standard.
I ain't talking about the organization, bro. It's the player. I'm saying like
because
how
the
we
players
elevate
was
our
ran
mind
that
to
way.
like.
Why y'all thought that way?
Huh?
Why y'all thought that way? Because the defense was that good. Y'all had team.
No. I ain't talking
Hall
about
of
that
Fame
part. I'm talking
players.
about me personally as a player. Like how I was thinking like as far as like, man, how I went to the Super Bowl with them boys, and then how as far as like Ryan was saying making the success part. I'm saying that, man, sometimes we draw ourselves up with what the media writes instead of just letting that stuff just play out. I'm telling you, because it's the placebo effect in the mind. Man, that's the strongest thing we got. If you keep sitting there telling yourself all the time, like, man, I'm not gonna be great, man, you ain't gonna be great. I'm just telling you, bro, it's the mind, bro. And I'm telling y'all with social media, bro,
you were
Ryan,
just
you done
so
seen
different
that, bro.
too, though, bro. Like,
It
just
ain't
here
that,
as
bro.
a young
We
guy.
done grown ourselves. We instill what we want, bro. Even our kids, bro. We sit there and tell our kids go be vicious every day, they're gonna go be vicious. I'm telling us is what I done seen it because you was a lot older player. So I was there with y'all and I seen what it is now, you know what I'm saying? How players now like the TikTok and all the other stuff, like that stuff is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, hell, it draws my attention sometimes. I'm on YouTube and shit watching the stuff. But what I'm saying is like when you draw too much into it, it's the placebo effect. You're more thinking about that than being what made you that, you know what I mean?
So with y'all being dogs the way you are, and I get it to you, Mike, because like the one thing I always knew, and like I was very comfortable about, that I didn't know about all the offensive players, but I knew if they ran off that other side and we had to meet him in the middle of the field, that he was gonna be there, right? And you were the exact same way. When you look at the newer generation, which kind of started to switch for Pittsburgh with AB, Juju, those things. When you look at the newer generation, do you think that the players have changed in the way that now the coaches got to adjust to that? Like we were kind of talking about the rules earlier.
Yeah, I think everyone has to adjust to it. Even when we watch the game, sometimes all of us are just shocked. Like, man, they called that penalty, they called that a flag. But then when you look at the big scheme of things, you understand why. And it's hard as a fan to sometimes accept it because, man, we used to like, why a guy can't get tackled? What's wrong with a guy getting tackled? How do you go out there full speed, tell this guy, man, I want you to give me 110%, and say, hey, but when you hit him, don't put all your body weight on him. It makes zero sense, but I understand why they do it. I don't like the call, but I understand if you don't make those calls, man, it just gets worse. Because you already know, like, man, if they take that out of the game, you know what's going to happen to guys. Like Von Miller, I was listening to one of his interviews, and it struck me like dang, like it is what they used to think. Whenever you used to go hit a quarterback, when he was standing there, you got a wide open hit on him. You're like, man, I'm finna destroy him. Man, they don't even think like that no more. Right. They're like, man, I'm getting the ball out.
Right.
Get the ball out, because if you go in with your mindset, man, oh, I got a wide open hit, I'm finna kill, even on a guy going across the middle. You ain't thinking about going, back in the day, he going across the middle? Psh, man, you'll change this guy's whole life. He might not never ever play another down for real.
Yeah,
The guy
that's
gets
real.
scared.
How many lives you changed already?
That's my point. Nowadays, guys ain't scared to go across the middle no more because they like, if it happened, he getting thrown out in college or in the NFL, he getting fined and suspended. But that's just, we've all had to accept the change of the game, and I think us accepting it as former players will help the outside world accept it faster.
So have y'all adjusted to, like, you guys are down here in Florida, and part of Pittsburgh was we saw people laid out all the time, right? And it wasn't, like, it wasn't that visceral reaction to it, like, oh my gosh, like I can't. But when Tua Tagovailoa is laid out in the middle of the field and his hands are, doing what they were doing, and
but he didn't take a vicious hit. See, that's another thing with that. That's why it kind of, his situation is different than any other one I've seen before.
The NFL is backtracking. Honestly, the NFL should have stepped in there because they seen what happened the last week. When a player's stumbling around, falling down like that, man, it's almost common. I don't care if you finish the game. Like, reassess it. Like, take it back and be like, man, you know what? If this player takes he's playing on turf, and if this player takes another hit, no matter what, he already has brain swelling. Like, we all kind of like, we play this dumb stuff in our head, like thinking that we're out there hitting each other and we don't have swelling. Like, if I go out there and hit my arm on this table, I'm gonna have swelling. So after a football game, physically, literally, you're gonna have swelling throughout your whole entire body. You know what I mean? So I think the NFL is trying to like backtrack now and trying to like, oh man, let's throw these flags a little bit to make it seem like, man, we really didn't mess up. And I honestly think they probably should have just came out and said, look, we messed up. Football is a vicious sport. We wouldn't be saying none of this if it wasn't the quarterback. Like, let's be serious. Like, if it was a receiver. AB was a scenario when it happened. Like,
Vontaze Burfict.
But see, we understand those hits. I didn't understand Tua's. Tua threw me off just because, man, like, Vontez Burfict hit AB. He locked up. Okay, we understand. We're like, man, that's a concussion. Tua got pushed down the first game, right? And he got up and he was stumbling. That push, man, you push Tom Brady down like that, what'd he do? He get up mad as a motherfucker and he gonna throw 4 touchdowns. That push, it just didn't seem like anything bad happened on that play. You see what I'm saying? And then the next week, when we go to Cincinnati, he gets slung down. I didn't see his head hit the ground. I seen his shoulder hit. Now maybe the jolt from it, because it was off. But his scared me more than any other hit that I've seen before, even though AB was locked up like that, because I'm like, dang, that's what happens when you get hit that hard. When you just get pushed down and then you get up stumbling like that, it was like, man, you got to show me something where he got hit, where that was off for you. I don't know, that something can't be right upstairs.
How do you feel about your little one playing youth football?
I coach him. I coach my son's little league football team. We have an AU tackle football team, and I'm out there. I love it. I think you can't scare kids away from it. Just like it's anything can happen in life. Like people get more concussions just being a normal person than they do in football.
Cheerleading, ton of concussions.
Yeah, even soccer. Like I was amazed to see like how many times a soccer player uses his head and throughout a soccer game. I was in disbelief. I'm like, bro, it's crazy. Like I didn't even notice it that much. Like the whole time they're hitting it, like doing different stuff. But I coached my son's team, and I remember last night was at practice, and the guy was like, "Oh man, we're late in the season, man. You think the boys should still be tackling?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, bro, we played 8 games, and like they barely, if they tackle during the game, they probably would tackle 3-4 times. I'm like, when they gonna ever tackle? Like,
when they gonna learn how to tackle correctly?
You can't get to a point, because that's what happens. It starts at the top level, right? Then you put it in the kid's head. They see a guy like Tua get knocked out. Or they see you start promoting all this stuff on the screen, and that's what they see. Then we get out of practice questioning, why are we doing tackling drills? Because it's tackle football. Like some of these kids, we got starters on our team, then we got some kids that are like 15, maybe 15 kids on the team that don't play. So when are they gonna ever tackle? Maybe when they get good enough to be a starter? Like it don't work like that. You see what I'm saying? Like that. But it's the perception that we get sometimes when they sit there and they put this stuff on TV all the time, and everyone's back talking about it. Right. You have everyone start questioning. Dang, boy. We 8 games in Little League football. We tackling on a Tuesday. The game Saturday. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, It's just stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. We gotta accept the way the game of football is as former players, because we've been there, we've done it. We understand that the game's changed a lot. If we don't accept how soft it's gotten, man, the outside world never will. They never will. Because if we're gonna have every foreign player get on there like, oh, football's soft. Why they throwing this flag? It's done. You know what I'm saying? Because even the foreign players like, man, it's just over.
I ain't trying to hear none of that stuff, man. People out there complaining, like, look at practice. Like, even college practice is a lot easier. Like, man, come on, like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why you got to accept it.
You know, Jordan called me all the time. I was like, man, how was practice? He's like, oh, shoot, Pop, we barely did anything.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there looking at it and assessing it for where I'm at now, and my kid has the opportunity to go out there and make a lot of money and be a professional athlete and go, be able to pass down generational wealth for his kids, or go to college, build a lot of debt, go throughout life and, real reality in life, I'm gonna let my kid take that chance. Like, I don't understand, like, what's the big uproar sometimes of why that happens. No one says anything when 18-year-olds go sign up for war. And then we go to war, and then we don't bring people back, but we celebrate whenever our troops come land back. And it almost blows my mind in a way, like, we should all just be crying in the foreign that, yeah, we won the victory, but, like, man, how many people we left over there? You know what I mean? But then we sit over here and judge football like it's like the worst thing in the world that we over here doing. Like, it almost crazy to me. Even like, man, that's why I be like, even like the whole, like when we're talking about the political thing, like we send all this money outside the country, but man, we got people here living on the streets. So it's like, yeah, that's another the fight that we got right now. That, I mean, if people are asking about the whole political thing, like, man, I feel like a lot of that stuff, like, should we help other people? Yeah, but like, man, help pay us in the form of protection for them, if that's the type of help you want. But like, man, we got people here in America every day that, man, we have generations, our grandparents, their great-grandparents that are 90-something years old, and we sitting here worried about other people, like, outside of what we got going on here in America. It's almost like crazy to me in a form.
And I think this is important. I mean, this is what I wanted to ask you. Because like I started it by your guys' relationship and always growing up with one another. Are you the Maurkice Pouncey you are today? Are you the football player you were? Are you the father you are? The businessman you are? If this wasn't your twin?
Hell no. Hell no, because Michael talked me off a ledge. Man, there's many situations I call Mike and, man, he'd be like, bro, what the hell you thinking? Like, you tripping, you know what I mean? Like, and there's only a certain amount of people, and all of us know that in your life that can do that. And hell, Mike probably like the only one, you know what I mean? But hell no, man. Hell, Mike motivates me to be a better father. Hell, a lot of different things.
How about you?
Nah, for sure. I mean, that's why it's a team with us. I mean, anytime we won't do single interviews, it's the Pouncey twins. If we do a real estate deal, it's both of us. There ain't no deal, this company we own, there's no deal without us being there together. Just like I said with Louisville, offer him a scholarship and then offer me one. And you lost your mind. Because we're one. We're the Pouncey twins. There ain't no such thing as Mike and Maurkice.
Tell us a little bit about what y'all getting into, kind of what y'all dropped off to us and stuff.
So this is, we own a liqueur company. It's America's only liqueur company, actually. We got into this company, almost 2 years now?
Yeah, 2 years.
It's a Gator-owned company.
Family-owned business.
Family-owned business. And
obviously, in the last year, we went up 865% in our sales.
Oh, wow.
It's been honestly a big-time blessing. Our distillery opens up. Our coffee liqueur in the next.
All y'all got to try the espresso. We thought the mango.
Sure.
See, that there's just good when you mix it with like martinis and are
you
vodka,
drinking now?
Patron. Yeah,
Try that out.
Try the man stuff. They give me you give a
Try that
bottle.
out.
Try espresso, bro. It's the morning time.
Espresso?
It's the morning time.
Okay.
What time is it?
I don't know, Mike. We
Y'all
Y'all
retired.
got here at 1, bro.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. The kids show us what time it is. Whenever they get home, we know it's about 3.
I'm telling you right now.
Hey, while we're doing that, Keith, you being humble. You say no NFL Hall of Fame, Steelers Hall of Fame for certain. I want to just go out and make a prediction and say you're definitely going to make the NFL Hall of Fame.
100%.
Your numbers speak for it. 9-time Pro Bowler, 4-time, I think, All-Pro,
Crazy
2010
good.
All-Decade team. I mean, the others still are great at center, DeMonte Dawson.
Yep.
When you look at your careers and try to compare those, I think, your stuff, what you did, speak for itself. But aside from that, I want to ask you your relationship with Coach Tomlin. And if you can give me probably your most fondest memory, or something crazy that you and Coach T ever talked about, or, an experience that y'all shared.
I tell people this all the time. Coach T is the best leader of men I ever been around. He knew how to handle every situation. Like, he was one of them men that you can go to. And I hate to say like a father figure because, man, at that time we was all grown men in a way, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like weird, kind of like saying that. But he was one of them men that you can go to at any scenario and just ask him a question. And he gonna lead you, if not in the right direction, or give you some in the right, give you that speech in the right direction, he's gonna show you which way to go in the right direction. I don't think he gets enough credit because he ain't an outspoken dude like that. You know what I mean? He might dress really well, all of us make fun of that, but he don't get enough credit for how he runs a team and how he runs the organization. And I just wish, like how Channing kind of said, man, a lot of different people get an experience to play with him. Hell, RC, I mean, you played with him, you seen his mindset, how much he puts in the work. Like, man, it was crazy to see how, like, some of the head coaches, because I went down there with Mike and I kind of seen them, and I ain't taking nothing from him, bro. A lot of head coaches do work hard. But, man, Coach Tomlin died about that. And I'm in there on Wednesdays, and I promise you, bro, I started learning defenses, bro. Like, I'm sitting in there watching things that he's saying, the whole game plan, I'm in there watching and stuff. Like, man, this dude, we double teaming him, man. We got man on this play. Like, whenever Vince was gonna blitz the back, like I already knew what was gonna kind of happen in my head because, man, Coach Tomlin had already laid the whole entire game plan out for everybody in the room, even the offensive coordinators. Man, he would already say, look, or screens work good on this team, or such and such, these type of runs worked on good on these teams. And even the offensive coordinators sometimes, I don't think they took in the knowledge because we would go to the games and then we wouldn't run the play or something like that or run the scheme that happened and then we'll come in there and watch the thing. And then I think Coach Tomlin more than like try to call out
tell us on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, he would try to, instead of calling out the individual coach, he would just show the plays that should have worked in the game or how it should have played out. And I think the kind of coaches sat back like, damn, like, boy, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen next week. But real talk, it was crazy how that thing played out. And I just think that, man, if anyone who ever played with Coach Tomlin, bro, he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
He would be in the Hall of Fame in Canton one day just off, first of all, the Super Bowls and obviously the players and his mindset, bro. Just how he carried himself as a coach.
I'm telling you, when he showed up, he's going to end as a Hall of Famer. When he showed up there, I know he showed up. Remember you showed up, you telling me when you showed up your run. He said, man, be there at what, 6:30, right?
Oh,
Telling the
man.
story. Real shit, because, man,
yeah.
any other first rounder coming in, they're not doing that to this guy. You see what I'm saying? But it was the way that the Steelers ran their program that in his
So I was
mind
the
right
first
away,
one.
he
I'm
knew.
going to tell the story, man. Let me
Yeah,
go ahead and
tell
tell
it,
it. So I had done held out. I
You
think
didn't
I
want
was
to
the
tell us,
first.
so I got to bring it up.
I got
Shit.
it too. But anyway, I think I was like the first player ever to hold out in Steelers history. So my agent like telling me about this stuff, like, man, hey, they're gonna trip out about. I'm like, man, listen, like, we can't do it. You know what I mean? They got to give us what we want. So anyway, I hold out a day. Gee hit me, say, they're going to be there 7:30 in the morning to come get you to run the test.
He's
I
a
said,
strength
perfect.
coach.
Strength coach, yeah, Coach Gee, Gary Gee, man. If anyone y'all,
They
that's
met
my
him.
guy. I
They
love
met
that
Gee.
guy. Yeah,
Gee.
Gee, the best, bro. So anyway, I'm sitting in my room. I'm early. I'm conditioned because, I got to come there and do my thing, you know what I mean? Man, I'm sitting there and no one ever come. Man, Coach Gee running the room. He said, you're late for everything. I say, late? I don't know where the locker room is. I got here at 12:30 at night. They walked me straight to the room. I don't know where the locker room is. Man, I get down there. I run the whole thing. I kill the test. Coach Tomlin say, you were late, though. You got to run this the next 3 days. He said, you got to run this the next week. I say, all right, Coach, I ain't tripping about that. I say, man, I get out there the next 3 days, right? I swear to God on my life. Coach Tomlin made me the next 3 days run the conditioning test.
Every
He
day.
said, man, I been look back at me. He said, on the last day, he say, hey, Pounce, how that water over there taste? I say, it's good, boss. just like that. Man, he seen it in my heart, man. I finished the test. I went to him after that, right after lunch. Man, no one ever knew about it. I went to him personally. I say, man, Coach Tomlin, man, I respect you and I love everything you got going on, but if I keep doing this, I ain't gonna be able to perform out there as a player. And I don't even know if you seen it, bro. I was getting beat out there some plays because, bro, my legs were so blown out, bro, real shit. He made me run that shit, bro. And I think it was him trying to test me as a man, bro, seeing if I was gonna fail the test or not because I held out on him. I wasn't answering nobody calls. Man, at this time, bro, you get drafted to a team, bro, you don't know nobody like that. You meet them during the process and stuff, but people hit me up like, you gotta get here. I'm like, man, who gotta get here? You gotta get where I'm at. Hell, I'm in the L shit, you know what I mean? Like,
Hey, this is the thing I want to know. I don't mean that, because that's a great, the scene.
Yeah.
You and Ben on the bench
oh, yeah.
after the loss. What were y'all saying to each other, man? Because what I know is y'all two, when it came to what y'all did on that field, man, like that was tied in. It was you and him for a decade. Like, what was that moment for y'all two?
It was unreal. Honestly, I think about it all the time, man. I be sitting there when I see a picture of something or Ben or text me or something, but the craziest thing I try to tell players all the time, I kind of like, even when you have so much success, that failure can happen. And when the snap happened on the first play of the game, I was just like, man, what the hell? Like, I'm sitting there thinking in my head as a player, like, man, how this thing written like this? Like, there ain't no way I'm in this year. Man, they talking about Ben done came back. Like, this is our chance to like finally like go out on this big hoorah, and they kind of like, bam, hit me, boom, first play of the game. I'm like, oh shit, like not Pounce. This ain't the person to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the person that like, man, getting all the players going. You know what I mean? So that hit me. Then we go throughout the game, like we fighting all the way through it, and I'm like, man, how the hell our defense giving up the points like that, man? Our defense got the best players in the league. Like, how all that shit kind of like played out, and I'm just sitting there, and I get to the bench, and all I'm thinking at the end of the game is like my kids in my head. Like, damn. Cause I had text my daughter before that game, and she had just wanted me to like make some of like the school stuff a little bit more. And once that shit kind of like played out like that, I was just like, man, like, hell, I'm still playing football for it. Snap shit happened. Super Bowl thing ain't gonna happen again. And my oldest, which my two youngest live down here with me, but my oldest lives in Texas. So like whenever that kind of like played out, cause she's 11 now, and I'm like, man, what the hell? Like, I got all this money, all this success, and my kid like worrying about like me making a damn event or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So, but I think that kind of like it was playing in my mind. And then when Ben like man, Pounce, like, man, like we could do this shit again, and you know, like fight back, and you know, the fans will be here next year. And in my mind, I'm like, man, fuck the fans, like shit about me right now. You know what I mean? Like my kids, I'm thinking in my head, and then I'm like thinking too, like shit, man, Mike just had the damn the total hip replacement, and then Mike came up there to man, I hate talking about this shit because I ain't even no emotional person like that, but when I go to talk about my kids, that shit go to fucking me up because, man, I got all girls. You know, you get sensitive with them kids. You got the girls.
Cool, bro.
But Mike had the neck surgery. But he ended up coming to the crib. And I'm like, dang, bro, like, you gonna come to the crib, like, your neck all swelled up. Like, man, I still got to go out there and play. And I'm, like, joking around with him a little bit in my head. I'm like, man, they're tripping a little bit, like. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm trying to, like, encourage him through the thing because he has to go through it, like, get a whole nother neck surgery after the one he just had. And then he goes right into the hip surgery thing, get a whole hip replacement. So all that shit, like, playing in my head, like, damn, boy, we some real soldiers. That's why I like try to tell people, like, man, once you as a gladiator and like you get to that point, like, you just gotta accept it at some point. And I'm just like, damn, like, I go back out there, I know I got like 1 year, $9 million left on the contract. They talking about they wanna, give me another, extend me and shit. But in my head, I'm just like, man, damn, like, I'm giving all these to these people, which I love because they done blessed me so much. And I ain't taking nothing from that fact because I'm so thankful for everything they did. But I'm taking away from my oldest kid. I see Mike fucked up in my head. I'm like, boy, ain't no fan in the world get me to come back here. Now my kids was on board and all the other shit. Like, man, hell, I'd have played to shit. They dragged me out the field, but like, I think that just more than anything kind of like played in my head. But like, just sitting there with him, and when he was saying that stuff, I'm just like, damn, but he a real rider. You know what I mean? Like, I think he had it more played out in his head. Like, you finish his career all right, beat some of the number stuff that he had going on. But in my head too, I'm just like, man, damn, being like, man, let that go be your thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to take that from you. And that shit just be playing so fast in your head. But yeah, that was like the biggest thing in my head. I'm thinking about, man, my kids, Mike, and then he hit me like, man, Pounce, like, come back, because the conversation was real quick, you know what I mean? Because Juju had done walked up. But he like, man, Pounce, we're going to do it in front of the fans next year. But I'm like, yeah, Ben. But like, man, I'm playing this shit in my head like, you talking about playing that shit. I'm talking about like going to the school of dance or doing this type of shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I honestly, and once you save really well and all that type of stuff that kind of like me and Mike did, and had the success and the contracts that we did, it's kind of like, man, you just doing this stuff just to be, selfish and arrogant. And like, for me, like, bro, how our dad stepped up in our life, I got to be there for my kids, you know what I mean? So that was like a big, huge thing that played on it.
And Mike, you've had your great success too. 4-time Pro Bowler, I believe. And making the Pro Bowl after the team that let you go, after the Dolphins, when you signed with the Chargers, making the Pro Bowl there in your last season. Definitely a dog, one of the Dolphins great. How does it feel for you to hear your younger brother, as a big brother, sacrificing and saying, look, my big brother, this is my love for him and my family. How does it feel for you to hear these things coming from Keith?
Now, I let him make the decision on his own because he seen what I had went through. And I remember the year before I had the neck surgery, he's like, bro, you got one more for me? Give me one more. I was like, bro, I got you. He seen
yeah, I forgot about that.
So he seen me go through the hip thing. He was like, you can't do it.
Because, bro, I ain't lying to y'all. Before Mike go on and talk about it, I seen him, we run. But us RC, like, man, that's what we do, to train to go get it, you know what I mean? And when he was out there running, I'm just like, ain't no way, Mike. Like, but you can't run. Like, you out there galloping, like, man, you gonna go out there and get embarrassed. And like, the boy Hip, man, he would go out there and we'll go through like 10 of the gases or something. And then the next day, I promise you, he couldn't walk. And I'm like, man, something's not right. Like, man, we gotta go get this checked out.
He seen it though. I gave him that extra year. That last year, it was tough though, because I knew I had needed the hip replacement. To go out there and fight through it, I just couldn't do it no more. And I seen with him, man, he was hurting so bad. I seen like his stance change. And when he came out that field, because I remember that whole game, he had the bad snap. They thought they were gonna win. Man, I was sitting at the house and he came in. I was like, I knew it. I said, bro, I said, what we gonna do? I didn't even ask him. I said, what we gonna do tonight? We just here with the family. He's like, yeah, we just chilling. We chilling tonight. So I said, okay. We got to the whole off season. I let months go by. He was like, man, bro, that's it. In February, when you get that feeling, all right, it's time to go back to football. When he didn't have that feeling no more, I just knew. I was like, man, we're gonna both retire. Because I couldn't go back out anyway. I just was waiting on him to make an announcement so we could do it together. But I didn't want to be that reason, because I didn't want to sit here to this day and be like, oh, he made me retire. Oh, he stopped me. So I let him go that whole time. And when I seen he didn't have that fire left in him, because I was still showing, we were working out, same thing. I'm right there with him. Let's go. Come on, bro. Same shit we always did. When he didn't have that,
I was just holding on to just to talk to Mr. Rooney though. Yeah. Once I talked to Mr. Rooney, I'm just like, man, I don't want to steal no money from y'all. Like, man, you know how that shit is, bro. You walk away from all that after they don't bless somebody like us. Like, man, I felt guilty in my head. So once that kind of happened, I was just like, man, once I talked to Mr. Rooney and then Coach Tomlin, like, I was cool with everything. And Ben was the last one I talked to. And that's why Ben was kind of a little bit mad at me. But I knew Ben was going to try to, like, sit there and, try to encourage me to be with him because, man, hell, when you out there playing with a player like that, it is easy, you know what I mean? But I just didn't want him to make my decision for me, you know what I mean? But once I got past them two people in my life with Mr. Rooney and Coach Tomlin, I was like, man, I'm at ease with that shit. Now, like, man, it's all about the kids and the family, like.
I think, I know y'all, you know what I'm saying? So it's different. This has definitely been our most probably rambunctious podcast.
We
We have. It's much like the way both of y'all played ball, and I think I've always, for us two, man, I've always had so much respect for you. He became like part of our family because you were in our family, man, and so I'm grateful, that y'all came out. And I think the one thing I'll say as like we finish is the thing that made both of y'all unique is that y'all think for yourselves. And y'all were able to do that and still respect other people. And y'all talk about giving back to our communities in the ways that y'all have. That mindset is also something that we could give to our communities, that we don't have to agree on everything, but we can have conversations, we can respect one another, and we can find a way to move forward with some type of civility, maturity, and get things done for people in our communities where y'all come from. Two different ones, man. So I appreciate y'all boys, man. Love y'all.
Thank you.
And hey, man, and when you get the gold jacket, I'm gonna be in that thing. I ain't even gonna lie.
Man, he better invite all of us. He might try to leave some of us behind. Jason brought me out there. JT brought me. I know that.
Man, honestly, man,
JT didn't bring you
crazy.
up.
That would be crazy.
Bitch, I was there for JT. Joystick on the contender.
My dog, appreciate you.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, God pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Niggas to me, God pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission.